Welcome to our meeting today. This is our normal Wednesday, 11:30 a.m. Wednesday meeting. And like each week we seem to be getting, you gentlemen want to come in? You're more than welcome. You probably know more than most people. We need them for help. Anyway, welcome to the meeting. We're glad to see everybody eventually getting back here. And today we have Marty Dorio, who's going to talk about iOS 9 and the cloud.
Hold the applause.
Yeah, hold the applause.
The money too?
No, the money's...
Yeah, there's an extra charge because Marty's here today. But we'll collect it when you get ready to leave. Anyway, welcome aboard. Anybody here that's never been here before? Anybody that, no, nobody's, no. No, well, I know that we forget who was here last week, so they all look new to us, but. Okay, so Marty, we're ready to roll. Oh, by the way, Monday night we've cut back our monthly evening meetings to 6 a year now, and the first one starts next Monday, and Jeff Bohr will be with us, and we're also going to cover iOS 9 tips and tricks, so make sure you're here for that meeting.
I see the library is closed next week. Are we not having a meeting, obviously, next week?
On Thursday.
On Thursday?
November 11th.
Is that Wednesday?
Wednesday, 12th.
Wednesday is the 4th.
Veterans Day.
Yeah. Next week.
The calendar says it's on the 12th. Well, it shows here on the,
It's the 11th.
on the calendar. The calendar says the meeting's on the 12th.
Oh, so the meeting's on Thursday.
That's what my calendar says.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, Bill. So the meeting, because of, what's the holiday next? Veterans Day, the library's
Or my
closed
birthday.
on Wednesday. Meeting's on Thursday next week, so don't forget. So we have a Monday night meeting next week with Jeff Bohr, and we have a Thursday meeting at 11:30.
What time?
11:30.
No, evening.
5. Yes.
And are the topics different in the evening meetings versus the weekday?
Yeah, well, yes.
Topics for Mondays are special subjects.
I just want to make a very brief statement. In the back of the library, there is a photo exhibit, and I recommend you look at it. It's our largest club here in Naples, and it's our club's exhibit.
And that's in this building?
It's in this building, if you come in through the back door.
By the way, if you want to pay any dues or have any financial problems or issues with the group, this is our financial guy back there, Don Peacock. And I think there was a question over here.
Monday night, is it OS 9 with Jeff? Is
Yes.
that what he's covering?
Right.
Yes. Tips and tricks for the iPad and the iPhone.
Mondays at 5 o'clock, it's iOS, and it's here.
And this meeting is going to concentrate on the cloud, which, you know, most of us find somewhat confusing.
Yes, very, yes.
So I always like to have a picture of some of the astonishing things that are going on in our lives, because people don't pay attention. This is the space station. We actually have people living on the space station. You know, Americans, human beings, Europeans, Asians.
We were on the TV
Up there,
this morning.
really wild, right? We're on the TV this
We
morning?
were in the news this morning.
Oh, this one. So I always do that anyway. I'm going to cover a few things about cloud I'll probably tell you more than you ever wanted to know about cloud, but I'm just trying to give you some perspective on what's going on, and then we'll take some questions. We'll take some questions as we wrap up. Feel free to interrupt me at any time. I know it's a little bit dim, and if you could turn off your cell phones, it would help a lot for the camera. First of all, what exactly is the cloud? And I'm going to be in your way. I'll try to move around here so we don't, I don't stand in everybody's way.
We're out of the camera range.
What exactly is a cloud? And the way I describe it, think of it like a disk drive in the sky. All right, we all know about disk drives at home. We all know we can plug them in. You have some things go wrong with them, and everything is kafooey, right? If we lose a disk drive, we lose all our stuff. If we haven't backed it up, it's even worse. There are some advantages to the cloud because if you think about it as a disk drive in the sky, the suppliers have to do certain things with our information, right? They have to protect it. They have to make it fluid so that if something happens to their server, which is where they really keep it, they have to be able to deliver it back to us later on. So redundancy is a big deal for the suppliers. By the way, anybody who is, if you're going to write this stuff down, this is all going to be on the web. He'll have copies of all the slides, so you can save yourselves a lot of writing. So they have to maintain security, they have to maintain redundancy. It has to be accessible to us on a real-time basis. We don't want to wait a week or a month or a year to get it back. So the cloud is sort of a disk drive, but it's available to us anywhere. All right, go ahead.
Where on the web will we find the slides?
It'll be on the Naples mug.
Okay, right on there.
It'll be on the website,
on our side.
on our website, and I will also email this to you after the meeting, through the discussion.
And they have to ensure themselves confidentiality, right? Because when we put our information there, we're going to put our emails, we're going to put our bank account information, whatever we store, our love letters, our novels, you know, the things that we're going to preserve, they have to ensure all those criteria. What's the purpose of the cloud? Why are we even talking about the cloud? Well, because we want to be able to have all our data files somewhere, and we want them accessible somewhere. When we lift our iPhones and our iPads, or if we go home and we play on our Mac, or we've got our MacBook Pros, we want the same information here as here. We don't have to want to transfer it. We don't want to have to plug it in. We don't want to have to do all of that rigmarole, because this is 2015. You know, it used to be we carried around a little floppy disk. We all remember floppy disks, right? They're about this big around, they carried no information, but we had 100 of them in our little bags. We don't want that anymore. So the point is, how do I sync it across all devices? How do I do it almost real time? It's not real time. And when I run my classes, I teach at the Renaissance Academy, people say, you know, it took a day for this stuff to get to me. Well, yeah, it was 100 megabytes worth of stuff, and you wanted it instantly on your iPad and your iPhone. You wanted all those pictures from your trip to China automatically delivered to your home without any pause, without any delay. Well, there's 500 million of us using the iCloud, you know, Apple's thing. It takes a little while. We're relying on the phone systems. We're relying on the people who transmit this stuff. We're relying on wires, unfortunately, some of us. So that's what we want. Now, who offers clouds? And what are we going to call them? It's not just iCloud. It's, the answer is everybody. They all want our stuff. Why do they want our stuff? For marketing, for money, because they want to sell us other things, right? They want to sell us hardware or software or storage or time or access. So everybody is trying to get us to put our things on their cloud, on their disk drives, on their servers, if you will. technically what's happening in the cloud. Technically what happens is there's a computer somewhere that's called a server, and when I transmit from here to the cloud, I'm transmitting to their server, and then they make a copy of that on another server to make sure nothing gets bad with it, nothing bad happens to it. In Apple's case, they've got servers in Georgia, they've got servers in Florida, they've got servers in New York, New Jersey actually, California, Arizona, all over the place. One of the biggest businesses in the country today is server farms. Because there are people who are building server farms that all these guys can use. Store our stuff on it, all our data on it. Okay? And by the way, when Jeff talks about stuff like this on Monday, he'll be much more technical. You know, there's probably a real word for the stuff. All right, so who, they're going to sell us stuff? Here's the Amazon site. All I did was I went to Amazon, I went to the web, to Google, and I said, Amazon Cloud. Bloop. Up comes their little offering page. Google has Google Drive. IBM has IBM. Microsoft has Microsoft. They all have clouds, and they all want our things. Adobe has 2 clouds. You all know Adobe, right? They make Acrobat Reader. We all use Acrobat Reader. Adobe has, that's probably because I'm touching the wire. Okay? Adobe has the Creative Cloud, which Bob probably uses 100 times a day to store photos and manipulate, because now they've moved Photoshop, which used to be on our PCs, to the cloud so you can use their storage. Right? They have a document cloud, which is where we store things like PDF files and things. If you store on Acrobat, you can store on acrobat.com, and you can see those things on all your devices. So cloud is nothing more than these guys getting our information on their servers so they can sell us stuff. I'm probably moving something, right? Is that the issue? I'm not sure. It usually is at the computer. Now, there are a couple of words that are being used. I just want to cover them, give you a sort of sense of what's going to happen here. You know, before cloud, a few years ago, nobody ever talked about it, right? And then cloud came up, and now we've got Creative Cloud, and Microsoft Cloud, and Google Drive, and everybody's got something called something different. We're going to hear, I heard this the other, when Meg Whitman from Hewlett Packard was talking about her splitting off her company into printers and PCs and the good stuff, you know. She was talking about in-house clouds and sourced clouds. What's that mean? Well, big companies have the choice of creating a cloud themselves on their own servers for their employees to use, or outsourcing it to companies like Hewlett Packard and IBM and Dell and you know, a million other guys. Toshiba does it, NBC does it. So there are in-house outsourced clouds. There are public clouds, which means any of us can use them, right? Any of us can use them. Then there are personal clouds. We had a presentation here, I think Dennis did it a couple months before the summer vacation, where he talked about Western Digital My Cloud. Remember that presentation? I mean, some people were here for that? No? Good. Okay. They're selling a device that you use in your house, plug it into the internet, and then you can dial into your cloud, but it's really in your house, right? It's nothing more than what we do now with iCloud, except you own it instead of Apple owning it, or IBM, or iCloud, or Apple, or Amazon owning it. Western Digital, Seagate do it. We can have the in-house or outside. Sorry?
What do we do in the outhouse?
Well, the outhouse is just the same. The in-house personal clouds are the ones that, that was sort of a leading comment there. The in-house ones are the ones where you buy it, like Western Digital, put it in your home, plug it into the internet, and then it has a web address that you can go access, right? The outhouse ones would be something like we're talking about here with Apple having an iCloud, right? Or how many of you use Evernote? Anybody use Evernote? Okay. Evernote's probably one of the best note-taking task-oriented kinds of devices. It's a free piece of software. You can buy it, or you can get it from the App Store. But Evernote will let you store stuff on their cloud, and then you can share it. You know, like I have my recipes, and my recipes are shared with my wife, so we don't have a recipe book anymore. We can all just access it through our devices. Right? So that's an in-house or out-house kind of thing. So there's lots of that kind of language that's going to happen. None of it's very important to us. What we're interested in is, what do they look like on our devices and how do we use them? Now, in my case, I try a lot of stuff because then I can't talk about it if I haven't tried it and figured out what's wrong with it, right? So this is what my Finder looks like. It's a little bit blurry, but maybe that's just my new glasses. You think it is a little blurry? Yeah. All right, well, I'll try and read it. On the Mac, they're in Finder. So once you decide you're going to do a cloud drive of some sort, when you go to the web, you then download it, and you download it, and the way it appears on your device is in Finder. So this is my Finder. It says favorites at the top, all my files, Marty Dorio, documents, downloads. We're familiar with all that. And then here's Cloud Drive. Well, that's the Amazon Cloud Drive. When you go to Amazon, you say, I want to participate with your drive. It puts a folder on your computer. It's literally in the Documents folder, but there's one that's called Cloud Drive. That's the Amazon cloud, quote unquote. And what happens, let me just finish the thought. What happens then is when you drag things to the Amazon cloud folder, it then automatically syncs with the Amazon drive wherever Amazon stores your stuff, our stuff. So it's a very easy way to get things. I'll show you later, but it's the same thing that appears on your iPhone or iPad. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Why couldn't I just use my Amazon account and store things there? Or is this where you're going to download books you're going to read?
No, this is separate from books, because books are handled separately. Well, a lot of these guys have different ways of handling different information, and that happens to be an example of one. This is for things that you want to store on the cloud and then retrieve in other places, other than books. All right, so like music or whatever. And you can do it on the web by uploading to the web, but this gives you an easy way to do it. You don't have to be online when you do this. You just put it in the folder, and when you get online, it goes and syncs with it. Same thing happens with all your other ones, right? Dropbox, Google Drive, Cloud Drive, OneDrive, which is the Microsoft one. They all just appear as a folder. On the Mac, on the Dropbox, by the way, we don't think of it as a cloud, but Dropbox is a cloud. It works exactly the same way as the Apple iCloud does, except better in some cases, and I'll show you why. So any place where we're storing information somewhere else and using it on multiple devices is a cloud kind of function. I had questions.
Do I need one or more passwords to go to these different clouds?
No. Once you set them up, you set them up. You may have to redo it if you wipe your system or something, but once you're set up, you're set. Now, do most people need all these? No. I told you, I'm a techie, so I try and keep up with what's going on, so I play with them. I want to see what they do and what their pros and cons are, right?
Are you going to tell us which ones you like the best?
Sure. I have opinions on everything. And they're all free. All right, so when you click on one of those folders, what does it look like? Well, it looks exactly the same way as on any other folder on our Mac. They're in our hard drive, right? They're in the upper section, not down here. You normally would think that drives would appear down where our external drives are, but because they're folders, they appear in the upper section, not in the drive section of our Finder, right? I'm talking about on our Mac at home, right? Now, here's the Google Drive one. Google Drive, I use for my backups. It's a very convenient way for me to put backups of anything I want to back up somewhere secure, but not on my machine. So on Quicken, for example, on Bento, what else do I use it for? I use it for Lightroom. I back up to Google Drive. It happens automatically. Of course, the computer goes crazy because it thinks I'm backing up to my own device, but I'm really backing up to the Google Cloud. And that's what it appears like. I can open those folders, I can look and see what's in there, I can delete them, do whatever I want. So any of these other drives would appear exactly the same way. And you can make them look like icons and so forth and so on.
So you're saying you don't, Marty, for Quickens, for example, all your backups are on the Amazon or whatever cloud that is?
Google Drive, yeah.
Okay. Not on your computer?
No, because if it's on my computer hard drive, I lose everything.
So if Google has an issue and they're down for a while, you can't get to your Quicken files?
Yeah, I've never had that happen.
Okay.
In all the times I've used all these things, I've never had it where it wasn't accessible.
Is there a delay at all when you have all that stuff backed up on cloud?
I mean, it takes time for it to sync, but it depends on how big the file is. Here's Microsoft Drive. Now, Microsoft calls it OneDrive. Last year or 2 years ago, it was called SkyDrive. So sometimes these guys change the names of things. You know, Apple has evolved from the Mac Drive, you know, from .Mac to .me to now iCloud. Hopefully they won't evolve again, but it's Apple. OneDrive, they put their documents and music and pictures into folders for you. So when you sign up and you get a Microsoft OneDrive, they put their stuff in folders, as opposed to Google, which I think you saw, there were no canned folders there. They were just my folders, whatever I made. Now, Microsoft is a little bit hard to use because, for example, if I put a Pages document on OneDrive, there's nothing you can do with it on Microsoft. You can't open it in Word. You can't open a numbered spreadsheet in Excel, any of that kind of stuff. My keynotes, if I can put them here, but I can't do anything with them, right? So I need the programs that would open the documents that are there, right?
On the iPad or the iPhone, the Microsoft apps basically want you to go to OneDrive also.
Right.
And they have recently added iCloud, but as you say, you can't do anything with the documents, you can just save them. But if you have the Microsoft apps on your iOS device, OneDrive is where you're encouraged to save them.
Yeah, I'm going to show you that.
Okay.
All right, so all these are folders. You put stuff in the folders, they get synced with the cloud, then you can open them anywhere. Right? It's the same deal. Here's Amazon's. Amazon calls their thing Cloud Drive. You go to Google and you type in Amazon Cloud Drive, and there it comes. You can download it. The offerings are similar to Apple and Google. They have a folder called Send to Kindle. So some of us like to store our PDFs on our cloud so that we can read them on our Kindle if we have a separate device. Now, in my case, I have a Kindle app, so I don't really have to do that. But if I wanted to, I could store them on the cloud and then read them on a Kindle app separately. And it's a very convenient way to put, you know, if you have a nice document or a draft of a manuscript or something that you want to see, or even love letters that you make into a PDF, you know, you can, I'm hung up on that because I'm in the middle of doing it. That's why I do. So you have the regular things, the documents, downloaded programs is something that I put up there, and then I use it for pictures. You can use it for pictures and sending things to Kindle. So everybody has a slightly different approach depending on how you use your devices. Okay?
You have a question?
Is there a difference between iCloud and iCloud Drive? Okay.
I'm gonna show you that.
Get there, is that part of this? I didn't understand the difference.
Here's
I'll wait.
iCloud. Here's
Whenever you're
iCloud.
planning to do it, I'll wait.
Here we are.
Okay.
Here's iCloud, right? Now, on my Finder, it says iCloud Drive, right? And inside iCloud Drive, well, anyway, this says audio memos. It says key, I'm going to read it over here. I can't read it from here. Oh, Keynote, there you go. This is Keynote, numbers and pages. And what Apple does, it's sort of like what we were just talking about. The documents are organized by application, right? So if I put a Word document in here, it'll be out here. It'll be saved out here, unless I drag it into my Pages folder, right? There's no operational reason why it has to be in the Pages folder, except Apple wants it organized by app. They don't make you do it, but they suggest you do it by having these little folders. So my numbers folder, my spreadsheets are organized in the numbers folder. My documents are organized in my Pages folder. Right? When you're on your devices, and I'll show you this in a minute, you can open an app and save to iCloud, all right? Or you can open iCloud Drive and open the app. It makes no difference where you go and how you get the information. Right? Go on.
So on your screen there, does that mean that any document in the Apple folders is one that if you edit that document, it syncs to your other devices?
Yes.
Okay.
If it's in this folder, if it's in iCloud Drive, and if it's here. Right? So the presentation that I'm doing right now is actually, it's actually a copy, but it was actually in the Keynote folder here, and I made a PDF, which is what this long thing is here, which is what I sent to George last evening.
And these folders are made up by Apple at the time that you sign up, or do you?
The main folders are made up by Apple, but I can add anything I want.
And it's good at synchronized.
And it makes sense. Yeah. Now what happens is if you have an app that asks you permission to use the cloud, like my audio memos thing did, it will then use space on your iCloud Drive, and it will store your memos in the cloud in their folder called audio memos. So what are audio memos? Those are things like when my grandson is playing a piano recital and I record the audio track and I want to save it, my audio memos app on my phone then says, I'm going to put it on the cloud. So I have copies of everything that I've recorded on the cloud. And then I can put them on my Mac, and I can put them into iMovie and into GarageBand and do all sorts of stuff with them. Right? So that's iCloud Drive. That's the Apple version. Now, what do they look like on our devices, on our iDevices? I've been talking about the Mac, Finder, folders, right? On our devices, they're icons, just like you would expect. They're icons. So I have an icon here. These are all I put them all in one place so you can see them. These are all, or some of, my different cloud drives. Here's iCloud Drive. How many of you have the iCloud app on your phones? Oh, not many. Okay. You can download the iCloud app. Be sure it's the iCloud app, not the Cloud app, or the Google Drive app, or the other ones. But you can get an app, and then when you open it, it has all the stuff I just showed you, but it's in little icons on your iPhone or your iPad. This is OneDrive. This is Google Drive. These are the two Amazon drives, three Amazon drives, sorry. Here's Dropbox. Here's the Apple, the Adobe Creative Cloud. They're just apps. They're just little, all of them are free, by the way. How do we use them? What's the point of all this, right? We want to use them to store information across our devices. Now, I don't use the cloud for everything, because some of the stuff I do at home, you know, I'm never going to read it on my Mac, I'm never going to do something with it or on my iPad or my iPhone. Some of the other things I do. I need my contacts everywhere, I need my contracts everywhere, I need my forms and my letters, some of my spreadsheets have to be available to me everywhere. So I put them on the cloud. Be careful to save the items before you delete them. Now think about what we've been talking about. I put my stuff in a folder or on my iPad, my iPhone, into a drive. I say, put it on the drive. It gets synced with the servers of whichever supplier we use, right? So I can use it across devices. What happens when I delete one from the folder? If I just hit that little X, you know, make it wiggle and delete it. What happens?
It's gone.
What?
It's gone everywhere.
Yeah, it gets synced and is gone everywhere. So to prevent that, you have to save it somewhere else first, right? So if I ever want to, for example, the audio memos that I just talked about, my audio memos get dragged to my music folder first so that I know I have a copy, and then I delete them. I copy them first, and then I delete them. Make sure I've got the copy that I need. What happened here, I was telling George, I had a heck of a time last night getting these presentations onto the flash drive because the versions I had were not synced yet. And I had old versions on the flash drive, and I'm thinking, I just spent an hour and a half fixing these slides. Where are they? And I had not done the sequence right. So you just got to be a little sensitive to how you delete stuff and when you delete it from the cloud. If you take it out of a folder and you hit delete and you think you deleted it, you did. There's no undo on a cloud when you delete something. So drag it to your desktop first, make a copy of it first, you know, make sure you've got it out of the cloud infrastructure. On Apple, for example, they ask you, are you sure you want to move this out of the cloud? This can't be undone. So you have to be just really careful about how you delete stuff. Once you delete it, it goes away, move them to your desktop first. There are some idiosyncrasies. Some of the suppliers don't support all the formats. So for example, if you move a Pages document to Google, it keeps it as sort of all the pieces of the Pages file that are not visible to us on a Mac. It has a metadata file, and it has an images file, and it has all these different things. It doesn't have a Pages document. So some of them don't work as well as we'd like them to. Someday all these guys will be able to translate, and it'll be a little bit more, it'll be a little easier to get stuff done.
Marty?
And you just learn that by experience. Yes, go ahead.
Are you going to talk about when you make a copy of something and then you continue to sync stuff that you might update, it doesn't update the copy?
I was going to talk about that, but why don't you elaborate on that? So
Well, for example, in Dropbox, you put everything in Dropbox and it's all in the cloud. And you might be sharing with somebody, or you might be just updating it yourself. So when you update it in the cloud, it updates everywhere. But if you take a copy of, make a copy on your computer to be sure you have a copy, when you update it on the cloud, it does not update the copy on your computer. And I would assume that would happen
With all-
similarly with other things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very good point, right? You have to keep it in the cloud for it to get updated. And then you have to give it time so that it gets updated. And sometimes it doesn't happen yet, you know.
Can I follow this with a small comment?
Sure.
Isn't it true when you make a copy, it has a different name, the file has a different name, that distinguishes it from the synchronized stuff?
Only sometimes, right? If I go back to my folder example, if I take a document from my cloud and I make a copy and I put it on my desktop, that will have the same name. Because I will simply have copied it in 2 locations. The computer says, this one is in user/Marty Dorio /document/Google Drive/name of file, right? And the other one says, all that same stuff, desktop/name of file. So to the computer, those are 2 different things, right? If you put this one back, then it's now got the same name as the other. It's going to ask you, do you want to replace it? So you've got to be careful about the naming thing. It's a good idea, actually, to change the name when you make a copy.
That's what I have done.
Sometimes it'll say copy. Sometimes it'll say copy.
I would think that that's a good solution to that issue.
That's why actually the documents I sent you have copy on them. Because they're actually copies of them. Okay. The last time I made a presentation here, I talked about Marty's musts. That's what the MMA is at the top. But Marty's must number 8 is use iCloud, use your Apple ID to set up the cloud. And then just to refresh your memory, there are some things that we are asked when we're in settings, right, on our devices. There are some things that we're asked whether we want them on the cloud or not, right? For example, contacts, calendar, reminders, Safari, notes. Do you want to back up to the cloud? Keychain, iCloud Drive, photos. Those are all choices that we make to use our storage on Apple, right? So when we're in settings on our devices and we go to iCloud, right? That's what this little thing up here is. We go to settings, iCloud. We make all those choices to use our space and put our stuff there, right? Then, hold on just a second. Then there are some apps which will ask you, do you want to use the cloud to store the app information, like my audio memos thing did, and it will then store also on the cloud.
I have a specific and a problem, whether you know the answer. Mail. It synchronizes my sent message, my incoming message, but not my drafts. How can I make them synchronize?
You probably have a setting. You've chosen in Mail to have your settings, have your drafts stored on the server instead of on your device. I'll show you how to do that later. But you can do it in settings, Mail Advanced, and then it'll ask you where you want the stuff stored. iCloud Backup, right? When you're backing up to iCloud, you're using storage. So when we click this little button here that says back up, you're now taking your content of your device and you're storing it in the cloud. Now let's talk about arithmetic for a minute. Apple gives us how much storage free? 5. How much storage is on here? 16 minimum, 132 maximum. So how many of these can I get in my 5 gigabytes of free? None, right? Only 30 seconds, right? And then it says, oh, you're out of storage. Now I have 2 devices. Then I have my Mac at home. I have 3 devices. So what's Apple trying to do? They want us to buy more storage, right? And we manage our storage. We manage our storage right here where it says storage, right? You go figure out how much storage you need, how much storage your backups are using, and you always need more. It's just like, you buy 64 gigs or 132 gigs. It doesn't matter. Whatever you got, you need more, because that's the way life is. We're going to need more and more and more, right? So that's the game. They want you to upgrade. They want you to store more stuff, and then they charge you $3 a month or $4 a month or $5 a month to store.
I'm going back to this iCloud and Drive, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was told within the past year, when I was working with photos, which I know sync between my devices,
Right.
but I was told not to click the drive on that, and I don't know why. I guess that's why I'm asking.
Well, you're asking me a different question than I answered you earlier. So let me.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's
I
okay.
just don't
It
still
was just that
understand.
I wasn't on the question that
Okay,
you were
all
asking.
right, thank you.
When you're in photos and you click that top button that says store everything on the drive, the decision you're making is not about storage. It's about where do you want your pictures to be kept. All right?
Okay.
When you click the top one, you're saying, I want all my photos to be stored on Apple servers. So it takes all your stuff, if you have 10,000 pictures or whatever, or 500, it puts them on their device. Just like when you're in music, you know, you have those little clouds next to all the songs. In music, they've taken your music, our music, and put it on the cloud, and then when you want to hear it, it downloads, it streams through your device, right? So that's what they're doing on the Photos drive when you check that top box. In this case, we're talking about storing information, documents and things, right? And it's really, it's part of this, but the decision that in that case is different. You want all your pictures stored on the drive. I never let anybody fiddle with my pictures.
Sorry.
I never let them keep my pictures.
Okay.
Because I just spent 3 years scanning all my slides. The last thing I need is for something to happen with Google. You know, some terrorist goes and blows up the Apple server farm for fun. What happens to our pictures? No, they're gone. So I keep them on my external hard drive in my house. That's different. And I think that's possible. I think that's what you do too, right? You keep your own. These are photo expert here, photography expert.
Marty, if my wife and I have a user on each side of our computer, and I select to have the backup, does it just back up one user, or does it back up both of us?
I think generally it backs up one user. So you want to use, you both want to have that option checked. You can check that. I'm not really sure. Does anybody else know?
It might have to do with your iCloud ID.
Oh, sure.
That's true.
If you have different IDs, it probably would be if you do it separately.
So we use Apple ID separately because her photos are different than mine. You know, that's all more.
Yeah, when you talk about the music, if I double click on a song that has the cloud next to it, it'll play, but does it automatically download if it's played? So in other words, I have to click the cloud. In other words, if I play that song that had a cloud and it plays and then it goes to the next song, does the cloud disappear, meaning it's downloaded to my...
No, you're not downloading when you're streaming. Streaming is streaming. It just plays, it's just like a radio. It comes from the sky, you play it, and it goes to the sky.
So the only way to download it to my Mac is to click the cloud.
Download it with your Mac.
Thank you.
Yeah, those of us who have iTunes Match, many people do that in here.
What'd you say, iTunes?
iTunes
I
Match.
have it, I don't use it.
Okay, well, you're paying $25 a year, so you should either use it or not use it, but it's $25, you know. That's a dinner. Well, it's part of a dinner. iTunes Match is what we were just talking about with photos, right? iTunes Match, they said, do you want all your music stored on the cloud to use on all your devices? So we pay $25 a year, $24.95, something like that. And they have all my music, 11,800 songs, are on the cloud. And I can play them anywhere. But I don't have them on my devices anymore. They were all up there. Yes, sir.
I guess that means you're using up a heck of a lot of mobile if you're actually away from the internet. If you wanted to play it on your iPhone and you're away from home, it'll be terribly, terribly expensive.
It depends on who your supplier is and what your plan is like. Now, in our case, we have unlimited data. So
What
we have unlimited data. I'm on AT&T and I have unlimited
AT&T?
data. Because I'm grandfathered.
Yeah,
I
that's
took
the
one of the
problem.
old
If you're not
plans,
grandfathered, you don't
unlimited,
have much of
and
it.
I'm grandfathered. They'll never change me unless I change my plan. They want me to change my plan, but I'm not gonna do that. So I don't have that issue, but that is the case. Now the problem is, most suppliers give you 5 gigabytes of download. That's a lot of songs. 5 gigabytes, it's a megabyte of song, so you have 1,000 or 5,000 songs. I doubt you're listening to 5,000 songs in a month. But it could be. Who was going to say something? Helen?
Marty, I just had one quick question about iTunes. I didn't upgrade to the latest version on my new Mac, well, it's not so new, I got it last year,
Yeah.
because I'd seen some things that were in the discussion group about problems in the new iTunes. Do you mind? I didn't do it yet. Could you just repeat?
I'm not aware of any problems. There are no problems in iTunes that have bothered me.
It had
But
something to do
I'm
with
not a power
access or...
iTunes. I'm not a power iTunes user. I
haven't used it
upgraded
that
it.
much.
I have all my songs there. I listen to music, and I don't have any issues. So I don't know what they're doing.
Maybe I'll look back in the
Yeah,
discussion.
you have to ask somebody who knows more than that.
I just heard what they're doing now.
All right, let's just talk quickly about usage. I quickly referred to this earlier. iCloud memory, remember all devices use this, right? So when you go to manage storage, and I'm in settings, iCloud manage storage, it shows you how much iCloud photo library takes, how many gigabytes your backups have taken, and how much. And if I scroll down here, it would show me all my programs. I have 400 and some programs, apps on my phone, because I test it a lot. And it shows you how much space each one of them uses. So iMovie is 350 megabytes, iPhotos 240, so on and so on. So you can see how much space is used storing your different things. And then when you run out of space, if you ever do, you can make a decision to get rid of some of this stuff. So that's all in managed storage in your settings, right? So those people who are concerned about storage, just go to managed storage and you'll figure it out.
Marty, I found out that GarageBand takes up a lot of space on my phone,
Yeah.
but you can't delete it. I mean, I never use GarageBand. I use GarageBand on my laptop, but I never use it on my phone. And I'd like to delete it off my phone, but
You can't because it's a system app.
yeah.
But you can delete the data that's associated with it.
Well, as I say, I don't use it on my phone at all, so I don't know what there would. I can't believe there would be any data.
I don't remember,
I mean, I've never created a GarageBand file on my phone.
but does it sync with your Mac, I wonder? I don't know the answer to that.
No, it doesn't sync with my Mac unless I do the syncing.
It is one of the bigger programs. The
Yeah,
game
it's
programs-
almost a gigabyte.
The game apps are big apps too, because they'll load all the different scenarios when you're going to go play a game. So a game app might be 800 megabytes of stuff, I mean, just a huge file. One thing about the cloud, most people don't realize this, that there is probably some secret PC users in the room. I'm a PC user because I have stuff that doesn't run on the Mac, like QuickBooks and VectorVest and my real estate things. So I was thrilled to learn this. You can access the cloud, iCloud, Apple iCloud, now we're talking about, from any browser using your Apple ID. You just type in iCloud.com. It comes up with a little sign-in thing like this that says enter your Apple ID and password, and then it will take you to just like that. So here's mail, contacts, calendar, applications, settings even, and you can do them all. You can manipulate them, you can deal with them. The thing you can't do is open one of the programs. You can't run pages on a PC, but you can look at all your other devices. You can change documents and so on and so on. And this is what one of those looks. This is what the iDrive looks like when you open it. It looks similar to what it looked like on the PC, on the Finder. Right? Shows you little icons and stuff. Go ahead.
Would it be
in mail, when I delete junk, it appears again.
Yep.
Does that mean I have to save it first?
No, it's because the server doesn't want you to delete it. I spend an inordinate amount of time getting rid of junk mail. The only way to get rid of junk mail is to go to this source and delete this. You have to go to Google Mail or AOL or whichever service you're on and delete it there. Otherwise, they can send it to you. It's just, I don't know a good answer for that. They just send it to you. That's why it's called junk mail.
Couple of questions back there.
Okay, any other questions or stuff? I know that took a little longer than I thought I was going to. Very good questions in the middle. Go ahead.
So let me understand this. I have some stuff
I'm
on,
going to turn the lights on.
I have some stuff on iCloud that I didn't particularly want there. And if I go in and to manage my accounts and shut that off, am I going to lose everything that's on iCloud?
If you have stuff on iCloud that you want to keep, you just keep it. You just copy it to your desktop or copy it somewhere else.
They have a copy of it.
Right.
Where you turn it off.
If you delete it, it'll just get deleted everywhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen instantly.
But I'm not talking about hitting delete. I'm talking about, when you go and you say, store this, yes or no. And if I just turn it off and it's already been on there, what's going to happen to it?
I think it just gets stored.
Go there.
There's one interesting thing that I discovered recently. You learn stuff every day. Almost every Apple document has versions now in the new operating system. So if you just click, I think it's file versions, you can see all the past versions. It's just like a mini time machine. You'll be able to go back and you'll see all the versions that it's kept for you. So if you make a change, change the address or something, it'll keep address 1 and address 2 in 2 different forms.
2 points. In response to what Mike asked, if you have iTunes Match, I believe that if you're online and you're on your iPhone, your iPad, and you touch the song, it will play, it'll stream. If you hit the down arrow, it will come into your device and you can listen to it offline. Now the advantage of iTunes Match is you don't have to put all of this music on your device to take up space. So the advantage is you only download those things you want to listen to offline. And I believe you can send them back up to the cloud by deleting them from your device.
Yeah, I may have misspoke. That's absolutely.
I think that's how it works. The other thing I would, that I noticed on El Capitan, and I don't know if this is the case for Yosemite because I was never on Yosemite, but if you do a right click, or in the case of a trackpad, 2-finger tap, you have a choice of moving that document to Evernote automatically, which I think is a great advantage. They have something you could do for the internet right on the browser, but I've never been able to do directly from an email or something like that, a document go directly to Evernote.
Evernote appears in most of the share, where you have a little share box. Evernote will appear there.
For more than any other cloud note saver.
And it's the same as Dropbox appears there.
Right.
More and more news in there.
Marty, you say I'll cannot find the server, and it seems to be a legitimate server. What's going on there?
It's usually just a connection. They can't, for some reason. As I was doing this last night, it would tell me couldn't find the server. I just close it and come back in and find it. It's just mostly communication. These are complicated things. The server is in Sri Lanka or India or Seattle. They have a flood in Seattle, so they got to route it somewhere else. It's just a lot of things happen. Lines down for some reason, and then they have to reroute. Yes.
Natalie, if you're taking a lot of photographs and video, and you save it in the iCloud, and then you delete it, if you haven't deleted it from the iCloud, it's still there, or is it gone? I mean, I save a lot of things. I'm a hoarder on things because I'm so afraid they're going to be lost. But I need to get a lot of things off my phone that...
Photos work. The short answer to the question is it depends. If you take a photo on your phone, right, and it's in camera roll, and I delete it, it's deleted. If I take a photo on my phone, and it's in photo stream, and it's in photo stream on my iPad, and I delete it on my iPad, it's still in camera roll on my phone. Keep me straight here. Because you know this stuff better than I do. All right? So it depends where you took the picture and how you got it to where it is now.
Unless you delete the original photo that you took from that device,
Right.
or from your computer downloaded,
Right.
that will stay there unless you delete that. If it's streamed through the cloud or through PhotoStream, and you delete it from something other than the source where you took it, it will still remain on your original source. But if you delete it from the source, it will be gone forever. That's the way I understand it.
I think we both said the same thing from opposite points of view. What I always do is once a month, the end of the month, Gail says, I got to pay bills this week. I say, I got to plug in my phone and make sure everything is on my computer. That's what I do. So I plug in my phone, I open the little thing that says, do you want to transfer these things? And I transfer them.
But it's not going to be deleted on the computer if you put it on the computer. Unless you delete it.
But you have to download it out of Photos. Like if you put it on your computer in PhotoStream, you have to download it into your computer.
Right.
You can't just leave it in the cloud section of your photos.
Yeah, it's important to know that if it's in PhotoStream and you delete it, it's deleted. You have to add it to the library. You have to do something.
I misspoke before. Paul just showed me that GarageBand is an app downloaded from the App Store, so I
Oh, is it
deleted
really?
it. It's not part of the operating system.
I thought it was. Okay.
It is on some.
I can't keep track. I don't know. If there's a little X, I know I can delete it. If there's no X, I know I can't.
I just wanted to make a comment that in Mail, you can do the same thing. Save things on your computer or on the iCloud. And just make sure, because unless it's on your computer, you never know when it gets deleted. So what I do is, for convenience, I put things sometimes in iCloud, but then periodically, everything I want to make sure that I'm keeping, I make sure that I save it, on the left side, on the bottom, that it's on my Mac and not on iCloud.
Done.
iTunes question, when I sync to my iPod from my computer, the thing that said sync only checked playlists is missing. Is there something that I didn't select in the view, because I don't want to put them all.
You mean the option is not there anymore?
Option, it used to say,
Yeah,
give me a
only
choice.
check playlist. Yeah.
Now I don't see that with
I don't know. I haven't seen that in the new operating system. I just finally did upgrade the operating system.
I had set up, I know this isn't really an question, but
Sorry.
I had set up iMessage last year at the Apple Store so that I could get text messages and send them on my iPhone, which is still running OS 8. It's an old one, and my new Mac. But the other day I was trying to send a message, a text message, and it told me it couldn't send it because iMessage wasn't turned on, and I was like at the airport or something. And I didn't remember having that problem before. I thought I could just send a text
Yeah, it
message.
has to be active, it has to be turned on in settings.
Okay.
If you go to
Well, I
settings.
just did that on my
Yeah.
iPhone. Okay, thanks.
Since we're doing other questions,
Sure.
if I do Netflix on my iMac, it comes up fine. If I try and load it on my iPhone, it will not recognize my name and password. Why? It asks me for the correct name and password. And I've checked it with, I know it's the correct one.
I don't know the answer. I've seen that happen occasionally, and I mean, it's happened to me occasionally. And usually it's either because I mistyped it or because the app didn't get downloaded properly.
I wonder if I should
Just take it off and put it
Just
back
reload
on.
the app.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably in the app on your phone, so you gotta delete that app and reload the app.
Whenever something weird happens like that.
Bill, another thing that I would recommend is if you're using iMac, and you should only use iMac, is to add an account in your phone and recreate it.
Recreate, which account?
The Netflix.
Mail account.
Oh.
That gives you trouble. Delete it, then recreate it, because something may have gotten scrambled inside it. Deleted it, it's still on the server, when you recreate it, everything comes down.
So sometimes these things happen, you know, these are computers. And if you shut it down and it's in the middle of something, you know, it truncates whatever was supposed to be being done.